Hey, welcome to the first of what I hope is many episodes of Cooking with Paul. So I'm glad you're here, and let's not waste any time, and let's just get into it. First, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. I'm not a chef. I've never been to cooking school. I've pretty much just learned everything I know from my mom and from Food Network. So I've just been watching Food Network since before it was cool, and yes, it is cool. I don't care what you say. If people think Bobby Flay is hot, it's got to be cool. So anyway, on this episode, I want to talk about basic knife skills and essential hardware. Basically, there's two knives I think every cook should have. If you can have these two knives, then you can pretty much do anything you want in the kitchen. I kind of have a third knife that I can't do without, but I'll get into that later. So the knives themselves. First off, the 8-inch chef's knife. There's really three main brands out there, Wusthof, Henkel's, and there's a Japanese version called Shun. All three are great knives. Really what you want to look for is a nice heavy weight to it. You want it to really feel good in your hands. You don't want it to be flopping around because it's so light. You want a nice sharp blade that goes one piece that goes all the way through to the handle, and you just want it really well balanced. If it feels good in your hand, then it'll be good for you. Next, and the second of the two essential knives, is the serrated, or some people call it a bread knife. Really, of course, they're good for bread, but they're also great for other things like watermelons and cantaloupes and squash and pumpkins and pineapples, anything with a hard skin that you really need to get through. These really grab and sink into the skin. And for me, I have a third essential knife, which is the Walmart Special, the $8 knife. This is actually my first knife that I bought 9 years ago when I was a junior in college. And yes, see, I'm grabbing it by the blade here. It's nice and sharp. It's one of those Ginsu specials with the micro serrated edge. But it's really, I can't do without this. I use this for so many things. So, but for you, I just recommend these two knives, the 8-inch chef's knife and the serrated knife. So if you can get these, you can pretty much do anything you want to in the kitchen. So let's get to the techniques. Okay, before we get into actual chopping, I want to go over how to actually hold the blade. I see a lot of people do like this death grip on the handle itself and try to, go at the blade like this or something like this, awkward. Really what you want to do is you want to kind of pinch the blade, just like this, right at the fat part, and then just wrap the rest of your fingers around, your last three fingers around the blade, and that'll really keep your hand on the balanced part of the blade, and you'll be able to chop through a lot easier. So that's really what you want to do. You don't have to pinch it, but just, that's where you want your fulcrum to be, and then just let your other fingers rest on the handle themselves. Now, how I kind of like to break up the techniques is into three pieces. Call them lever 1, 2, and 3. Really, lever 1 is just using your whole arm as one continuous motion like that, more as a side slicing motion. Lever 2 is what I call like a combination of your wrist and your arm, in which you'll see like a circular motion like that. And lever 3 is mainly just your wrist, where you do more of a chopping motion. And so if we want to do lever 1 with the chef's knife, we'll just take this apple here. Another thing before we get into it, I also see a lot of people, and I also do this sometimes when I'm not thinking about it, is I hold my food like this. And then that's just asking for a severed finger and a finger in the soup. So when you're holding your food, really get your fingertips into the food like this, and it'll prevent the knives from possibly cutting your fingers. So lever 1, get your blade, hold it properly, fingers on the food like this, and really just, you want to slice through the food like that. Okay, don't push straight down. Let the sharpness of the blade cut the food for you. You may not get it in one pass. I really haven't sharpened this in a while, so it's not as sharp as it could be. So you may have to come back and go right through it, but it's really going through easily. Now I'm just using my whole arm, just like this. So lever 2 is a combined motion of your wrist and your arm, in which you can feel how the blade rocks. You can see I'm moving my arm back and forth, but I'm also lifting up my wrist. So what you want to do is once you kind of get the feel of that, you can run it down your food and just feed your food. I'm using a celery right here. Just feed it right into the blade. Now, I don't know, in cooking school they may tell you to move the blade down and keep the food still. I kind of like to move the food with my fingers like this. I just, move it along just like that. So, just like that, lever 2. And once you get good at it, you just do it without thinking. So, lever 2, wrist and arm together. Lever 3, just your wrist. I like to do this with mushrooms because they're soft and the blade goes through them really nice and easy. Just like that. And this, you really want to, if you're going to do this, you need to make sure you have your fingers on it like this. You don't want flat fingers because you'll chop, chop, chop. So you just, right through them. And for this, I really like a flat surface. That's why I cut these in half. So you get a flat bottom and you don't have a round bottom wobbling all over the place on you. So get a flat bottom like that and just really, you don't have to go that fast, but you can go slow. Just like that. So, on to the next knife, the serrated knife. I have chosen a pineapple. For this serrated knife, you want to do it more like I really only use lever 1, just your arm, because you really want to take advantage of those teeth. So really just slide it back and forth, just like a saw. I mean, it looks just like a saw. So act like you're using a hacksaw, really. And just go back and forth and don't really push down all that much. If you got a nice sharp blade, the blade itself is going to do the work. Let it do the work for you. And you can see it goes right through this tough skin of the pineapple. Yeah, I've got a nice sharp chef's knife, but I would never use the chef's knife on this when I got these nice little serrated edges right there. Last but not least, my $8 Walmart knife. I mainly use this for cheese, and I buy my cheese whole. I never buy it sliced or shredded, so I cut a lot of cheese. I slice a lot of cheese, and so for anything sticky like a cheese, this is really good. It's got this micro serrated edge which goes through really nice, and it's really, really thin. If you were to use this chef's knife, you can see how thick that is right here compared to this nice thin blade, which I can pretty much bend like this. So it goes through really nice and gives me nice slices, and it doesn't stick on me. It doesn't distort the cheese or anything like that. So I get good slices every time. Just like that. All right, that's all I've really got. I've only got so many ideas, and I'd really like this to keep going. So if any of you out there have ideas that you'd like to see me do, send them in, comment on the blog, because I don't really know how long I can keep this going with just my ideas. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.